Mental health is like my brake light. So I was driving the other day and my landlord was behind me, following me, and he said, "Hey, I think your right rear blinker is out," or something like that. So I was like, okay, let's pull over and check it out. So I get out of the car, walk to the rear, we look at my light, it's on. We go back in, I go back to my car, I turn the blinker on, the blinker works. I push the brake. He says the brake light is out. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I go to the place where you buy car parts and I'm like, hey, my brake light is out. I have this old light, sitting in my car, and the wrapper, is this the right light for my car? Can you come and help me? And the guy behind the counter comes outside to help me, and he looks at my light, my tail light, and he's like, your light is on. I'm like, I know my light is on. I see that. So where's the brake light? And he's like, I don't see one. I'm like, but he said my brake light was out. Just stand back there and look. So I come back to my car, push the brake light, go back. He's like, yeah, when you push the brake light, the light is out. And I was like, well, where is the brake light? And he's like, I think you have one of those like dual tail lights / brake lights. And I was like, well, I don't understand what you mean. He's like, well, when you push the brake, the light is supposed to get brighter. And y'all can see that like it's kind of shaded right now, which means that we know the light bulb is out. But when I took it out, it was not shaded. So I don't know if I did something to it, but anyways, it didn't look like there was anything wrong with it when I took it out. So I believe him, just like I believe my landlord, and I replaced the light bulb, and then I hit the brake. And then I tell my mom to get out of the car and hit the brake so I can see the light. She does it. I'm like, oh yeah, I see how it does get brighter. And so I'm asking him like what like the science behind it. He doesn't really know. All he knows is it gets brighter. I'm like, how does that work? So I do some research and I find out that this little bulb has two filaments in it. So one is for the tail light, which is always on, and the other is for the brake light, which only comes on when you press it. Now, this is why I say that this bulb is like mental health, because with our mental health, we can be fully functional and operational in multiple areas of our life. We can be doing good at work, or we can be functioning at work, functioning in at school, functioning, when we go to the grocery store and are interacting with people, functioning everywhere. But then when we go home with our partners, we are out irate, we're losing it, we're whatever, we're not functioning. Or whenever there's a crisis, something in my face, whenever there's a crisis or something that requires a heightened, or something that causes a heightened level of stress in our lives, something that's out of the norm, out of the typical, we off kilter. When you're stressed, it's like hitting that brake. Stress amplifies whatever else is going on in your life. And so when the stress level gets higher in any area and your responses are not safe, then we can see that there may be a mental health issue. And what you may call safe because you're the one in crisis may be different than what someone else observing the situation around you may call safe. And you have to trust the people around you enough to know that they can see behind you. They can see the brake light not illuminate. And you're like, okay, well, this person said that this isn't a normal reaction. This is not an appropriate response. Maybe I should go get it checked out. And it reminds me of this light because in some instances you're fine. In another instance, there's something that's off. And you don't realize that it's off. And most people may not realize that it's off. But it takes someone outside of the situation, outside of the circumstance, to explain to you, hey, I think I see these things and this is going on. And so that's okay. I've been there. I've been in those situations where my mental health was declining. I was unaware of what the signs and the symptoms were. Like when you don't have brake lights, people brake at the last minute behind you because they don't realize you're braking and you think they the problem. And so I've been in those situations where like I didn't know what obtrusive thoughts were, but I just thought like, oh, like this is just weird. Like I had this random thought that I could, not that I want to or that I should, but that I could drive my car into this ditch. That thought crossed my mind. And I was like, that's a weird thought. Like I'm not interested in doing that. But then that thought comes more frequently, or like, you know, it becomes more drastic and urgent, you know, and maybe I could goes from I could to I should. And so I've been in that situation before where my thoughts started what is it called? Escalating, I think I want to say. And I found myself in a situation where I didn't feel safe with myself. I was like, wait a minute, pause. I'm feeling and experiencing something that I've never felt or experienced before. This feels weird. This seems weird. And by weird, I mean out of my norm, right? And so I was like, I'm about to go somewhere to find some help. I didn't tell anybody close to me. I went to the doctor's office and sat there for 7 hours because I was afraid of being by myself and I didn't know what to tell them. I knew what I didn't want to tell them, you know. And so, anyways, I say that to say it's not weird to have weird moments, weird experiences, whatever you want to call them, that relate to your mental health. In the context of everything seeming okay, in the context of the tail light staying on and you not knowing that the brake light is off until you need it, right? And so I say all that to say, be somebody that check on your friends, check on yourself, let people check you and ask you questions to find out, are you really okay? You know, beyond the surface, beyond whatever, you got this thing going on in your life. How you doing? You know, what's on your mind? What have you not talked about, kind of thing? Because on the surface, 80% of the time things can seem fine, but that 20% of the time that things are not fine and not okay can find you in a legal situation, an emotional situation, a situation that completely gets out of control because nobody told you or felt like they could tell you, or you never told anybody, hey, I think your light is out.